Hi everyone, my name is Kendall Moore. I graduated in 2020 from John Adams High School, and I was part of Science Olympiad for 2 years. And Designer Jeans was an event that I was competing in both years, and one of my favorites. So Designer Jeans is a study event, which is where you learn everything about an event before taking a written test in the competition. Designer Jeans is where you study everything related to chromosomes, genes. There's some pedigree questions, information about like Gregor Mendel and some famous genetic experiments. Anything having to do with mitosis and meiosis, and CRISPR, which is a gene editing technology. Anything having to do with genes, and sometimes even the technique of altering genes. So for Designer Jeans, taking IB higher level biology is super helpful. I can't count the number of times where my study in Designer Jeans would overlap with my study in IB biology. So when we would be learning about electrophoresis, which is a way of examining DNA and examining genes, we might be talking about that in Designer Jeans, and it really overlaps, and it really helped me boost my test scores in IB biology during the final exams or during tests and quizzes throughout the year. So that really helped me. The skills kind of transfer over from each. So in preparing for Designer Jeans, I would read everything I could anytime I could. So if I had a few minutes after school, I would sit down with my computer and I might look at the rules list and find something I'm not really particularly confident at and just do a huge web search about it. I found videos to be super helpful. Sometimes reading about Designer Jeans can be kind of confusing, almost boring, and there's lots of big words that are used. Some that I didn't understand. So watching videos helps me visualize it and helps me understand it better, and I can always rewatch those as many times as I needed to. So particular videos that I found useful were the ones where someone would be taking like a whiteboard and kind of drawing out the steps or drawing out ways to explain a process. Kind of similar in style to the way ASAP Science makes a lot of their videos. And I also would complete like experiments in class, especially during IB biology, and that was really helpful for me to participate and be more hands-on, which was really my style of learning. It really helped me learn the material, but you could always do some of those experiments in Designer Jeans practice after school. So I want to give you an idea of some problems that you might see on a competition test. Some could be as simple as completing a pedigree or completing a Punnett square, which is one of those square boxes where you figure out the parents' alleles and then you figure out the children's alleles and determine what genotypes or phenotypes that they could have. Those are things you would have learned in a first-year biology course, especially biology honors. So other questions might ask you about mitosis and identifying what process or what stage of mitosis a certain picture could be at, or they could even describe it, and you would have to select the stage that best fits the description. A lot of the questions are multiple choice, or if they are like a longer response question, it might be one where it's asking you to draw a Punnett square, like I mentioned before, or it could be one where you might have to describe an experiment, such as some famous gene experiment, maybe describing Gregor Mendel's work, or talking about certain experiments or studies where scientists have isolated a gene. And you can do your own research to find specific examples of those. So next I want to talk about what I learned at competition. I really want to mention that you don't need to get a perfect score to be able to place. So a lot of times when you first go into competition, when you're new at Science Olympiad, you think, oh, I have to answer every question perfectly to be able to place because I'm up against some really good schools. Well, let me tell you, of course, do the best you can, but that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you can score a 50% or a 60% on a test, and contrary to whereas in a classroom you would fail, you might actually place third or second or even first place with that type of score. Just because the problems are so difficult, they are designed to weed out the competition. So sometimes that 50% might give you the gold. So the last thing I want to talk about today is how to prepare for state. I really want to emphasize sitting down with your teammates and going over the cheat sheet once more or twice more to make sure it's really up to par and it only has the information that you can't remember. So don't put very basic things on there. Don't put information that you've already committed to memory, because then it's just taking up space on your cheat sheet that you could use for putting down more complex processes or definitions that are really obscure that you might not need to reference all the time and that are difficult to commit to memory. So your cheat sheet is only supposed to be front side and then back side, one piece of paper, and it should be in a either laminated or in a protective sheet of some sort for that. And make the font as small as possible to squeeze as much information in there. Add diagrams, add pictures, and be sure to color code it. Make it nice and organized. So while you're sitting down with your cheat sheet, revising it with your friends, with your teammates, be sure to be looking up more information. Try to focus on some of those national tournament topics. They might throw those in there for state. It's highly unlikely, but they could. Nothing's really off the table. And be sure to be working through practice exams. So maybe ones from University of Michigan or University of Chicago, other competitions from past years, or even repeating exams to try to go back and see what you did wrong and try to make sure you won't make the same mistake again. Alright, so this wraps up my spiel here. I really hope this video gives you a good perspective of what it's like to be in designer jeans and a good example of what you might come across. And if you're still deciding whether to do designer jeans or not, I highly recommend it. It was my favorite event, and you can't really go wrong with it. And I hope this video helped you decide that. So good luck and go Eagles!